Hey, good morning, friends. Scott Brookins here. Hope you're having a great day, a great week, great night, wherever you are and whatever time you're seeing this. I titled this, You Got to Get Your Feet Wet. And that references to a passage I was reading yesterday in the Old Testament in the book of Joshua. And I'll get to that in a minute, but it reminded me of a story about my father. And this is Father's Day week here in America. And, this coming Sunday is Father's Day, where we honor our dads. And my dad's been gone for 17 years now. But it reminded me of a story that he shared with me when I was about 20, 21. My dad was at that time a executive VP at a small manufacturing company. And basically, he was the top executive because it was almost really a sole proprietor. And they got a contract in Dubai, in the Middle East. And at that time, I hadn't even heard of Dubai. And but anyway, he went over there, and I took him to the airport and then picked him up. And this is when he shared it with me. But this little company made membrane, so when you buried pipe under the ground, when the two pipes came together, they had a wrap that joined them so they wouldn't leak, like for sewage or water or whatever. And so they got a contract somehow in Dubai. And this was like 1980, 1981. Pretty amazing, really. And so my dad went over there. And, this is the time where executives, I don't know what they do now, but my dad always wore a suit, right? A coat and tie and suit. And so he's over in the Middle East in Dubai, and he's with the city officials. He's with the company he was working with. And so the workers are digging, they're laying pipe in the ground. And they're having trouble using this membrane, this wrapping to connect the pipes. And so my dad jumped down into the hole. He jumped down 5 or 6 feet into the dirt. I don't know if it was muddy. It could have been. It didn't matter. And he showed them physically how to apply this wrap to the pipe. And then they helped him out, and he climbed out. And he told me that the city officials and the leaders of this company were amazed that, he would jump down there in his suit. And he told me, he goes, I just told him I'd always buy a new suit, right? And so the point was, and that the lesson I learned is that you do what you got to do to get the job done, right? It doesn't matter what you're wearing. You can replace your shoes, your suit, but you got to get it done. And I remembered that, and I just kind of want to honor my dad with that story and thank him for sharing that with me and what he showed as an example. But in Joshua chapter 3, this is when finally God's going to let the Israelites go to the promised land, right? Because they had wandered for disobedience for 40 years, and Joshua is now the leader. Moses had passed away, and they're at the edge of the Jordan River, and it was at flood stage, but they were going to go across. And so there's a couple lessons that God was showing me yesterday. In Joshua chapter 3, verse 5, the day before, Joshua is telling the people, get ready, consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you. Hey, Jeff, good to see you. And so I wonder sometimes, are we preparing for amazing thing that's God's going to do in our lives? Even if we can't see it, maybe we have an impossibility in front of us, but maybe we just need to be prepared for tomorrow. The Lord will do amazing things among you. And so that's the first lesson. Be prepared for amazing things in your life. And the second thing is we got to get our feet wet, right? And so later down, and around verse 15, the flood, Jordan was at the flood stage. All right. So, it's high river, it's flood. But basically God told the priests to carry the Ark of the Covenant, right? They're carrying the Ark, and they are to go, hey, Jude, they are to go out into the water. So then God is going to part the water so that the Israelites can cross over into the promised land, right? And so a couple of things. One, it's at flood stage. So that means it's a high rolling river, right? And so maybe it's up to, the priests are thinking, well, how are we going to do that? We're carrying the ark above our heads because it's going to be up to our chests. What's God going to do? And then this is the cool part. And let me find the verse here. It says in verse 15, It says the Jordan was at flood stage all during harvest. Yet, as soon as the priests who carried the ark reached the Jordan and their feet touched the water's edge, the water stopped flowing and piled up. So, God stopped the water so that, and it was on dry ground. It says a few verses later that the priests were standing there on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan so that the Israelites, the million people, could walk by and get to the other side where God wanted them to be, on dry ground. Now, that's a miracle in itself, right? But the key is that the priests and the people and Joshua had to believe God, first of all, and then they had to believe that as soon as the priest's feet touched the water, God was going to do the miracle and clear it out of the way. And that's exactly what he did. But if they would have just stood there at the edge and say, okay, God, clear the water so we can cross over, that wasn't what God was going to do. And so a lot of times, God can do anything, right? I believe he's the creator of the world. He created you and I in his image. So we're all got our own personalities and all, he knows exactly who you are and who I am. But he wants us to be involved in his creation and his movement around the world. And so, he could have parted the water. He could have probably, just lifted up the people and put them on the other side. But he wants us to participate. And so he told them, get to the edge, have the priest carry the ark, and step into the water. And so you got to get your feet wet. You got to be prepared to get your feet wet, or you got to be prepared to jump down into the pit and no matter what, to do what you got to do. And so I just wanted to kind of share that because it's Father's Day. I thought of that story about my dad, but just to also encourage you that you got to get your feet wet. And what could that be? That could be anything, right? That could be getting out of bed every day because, man, I just don't feel good or whatever's going on, and just put your feet on the ground, right? It could be making a phone call to someone and talking to them and saying hi. It could be applying for a job. It could be asking someone out for a date, right? It could be doing a business transaction or making a phone call to make a sale. Whatever it is, we got to do the actions. And we got to have the thought process, like in verse 5, that God's going to do amazing things among you. And I believe that for you. Now, it doesn't mean God, life's going to be super easy, because we know it's not, right? And if anyone tells you just believe in God and your life's going to be perfect, don't listen to them, okay? Because that's not even what the Bible tells us. Jesus says, you will have trouble, but I have overcome the trouble, Jesus said. So you can put your faith in him. And know that he's going to do amazing things, but we need to take the step, right? We need to get our feet wet. And so whatever is in front of you today, I want to encourage you to take that step, take that action to make it happen and see what God does. He may do a miracle right now. He may not. He may be working in miracles that we don't even know about around our lives. And maybe we'll find out next month or next year or 10 years from now, or maybe we'll never find out until maybe we're in heaven, and then we'll say, oh, that's what happened back then. But you got to get your feet wet. I got to get my feet wet. I got to take the action and be amazed at what God's going to do in my life and plan on that. And I believe he will. I believe it'll just help your mental aspect. It helps mine to think about that and get through the challenges of our lives, right? Because we have them. And so I just want to encourage you with that. And if I can help you in any way, send me a message, and we can chat on the phone or whatever. But I just want you to, hey, Melissa, good to see you. I just want to encourage you, get your feet wet, jump down into the pit, get your suit dirty, and just take the action and be amazed. In Joshua 3:5, again, be amazed, for the Lord will do amazing things among you. And I hope you have a great day. I hope you go out and encourage someone else. Share this message with them if you think it could help them, and just go impact somebody's life. God bless.